From the time I walked into my first UUFB gathering some 40 years ago, I've been involved in volunteering for this fellowship. At the beginning, it was the very best way for me and my husband to become acquainted with folks in this UU community. It continues to be that way for me today, as working on committees or other work, I meet new attendees, interact with members and friends, and stay connected with all of you. I think I've served on just about every committee in this fellowship, except anything to do with finances. I've held various positions on the board and task forces. Sometimes I took on jobs that didn't play to my strengths, but where there were needed vacancies to fill, like board positions, which initially intimidated me. Surprisingly though, I almost always found that I learned a lot from pushing my own personal limits, because I was part of a caring community that supported my efforts. While serving on the board, I learned about the great care and time that goes into the decisions they make that affect the whole congregation and even sometimes our wider Bozeman community, while they also take into account our UU principles. I learned why our bylaws, mission, and vision statements are so important in guiding us. I learned about the generosity involved in listening, talking, and compromising with others who might have had differing opinions in this community, bound together by our covenants of right relations with one another. On the Sunday Services Committee, which used to be called the Program Committee, over the course of several years, I found my voice in front of this congregation because of consistent, positive feedback, and most importantly, encouragement that helped me to conquer my fears and trepidations. People had assumed that because I was a teacher, I was used to public speaking. However, standing up in front of a class of kindergartners or third graders is quite a different ballgame from standing in front of peers and sharing deep-felt spiritual thoughts. So I grew into someone who could stand in front of you. In the 80s and 90s, most of our Sunday services were lay-led, and I found I loved putting a service together. It was, and still is, such an opportunity for creativity and imaginative thought as you work on finding readings and hymns to expand on the morning's topic. These opportunities for creativity can be found by taking on lay leading or working on the Sunday Services Committee. I also loved working in RE and formed lasting friendships with our children and their parents. It is such a joy now to have some of those kids come back as adults and visit the fellowship, like the Branch Prindiville boys and the Mayfield Perucci kids. Now, a whole new generation awaits us, as we all witnessed in the wonderful Story for All Ages presented last week by the RE kids at our fall retreat. So, why do I continue to volunteer after probably having paid my dues some time ago? It's because this beloved community became my family of choice. It has supported me through times of sorrow, celebrated with me in times of joy, and helped me wrestle with the great questions of the day. So I want to carry on the traditions that were given to me, of nurturing others as they search for meaning, challenging and supporting others to take on the roles of leadership in a community that will value and appreciate their work. Volunteering for UUFB is personally fulfilling and keeps me connected in deep and meaningful ways to this community.
Hi, I'm Bill Gould. I was asked to speak to why I became a friend of the UUFB. A decade ago, I left 35 years of public service in government to move from the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area to Bozeman. I did not know anyone here. I'd worked very hard in a wide range of public policy arenas, including more than 32 years in professional posts inside Congress. back when Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike put country and problem solving first. I knew that I needed and wanted to rebalance my life. I was clear that I sought new focus on different priorities: family, friends, relationships, and community. What wasn't so clear to me was where, how, and with whom to pursue them. I did not know anyone in Bozeman. As I mentioned, during my first months here, I enrolled at MSU to pursue an additional master's degree in Native American Studies, which I received in May of 2014. I was confident in so doing that I would meet and learn from engaging people of all ages in diverse cultures and life experiences. My hunch paid off, and consequently, my life has been enriched in countless ways. After I graduated and didn't have classes and related activities to plan around, I looked for new ways and additional people with whom to forge new friendships and deepening relationships, both individually and in community. There's that core yearning again, to be connected to a genuine community. I discovered the UUFB. I had remembered when I was deeply involved in foreign policy and national security work and human rights advocacy that it was UUs who came to lobby me like clockwork. And by extension, the U.S. senators, representatives, and congressional committees who employed me. Those kind, caring, well-informed people always impressed me with their insights, caring, empathy, conscience, and profound commitments to greater economic, social, and environmental justice, and to respect for universal human rights and worker rights. Shying away from organized religion and indoctrination, I became a friend of the UUFB several years ago. The friendships, relationships, and community spirit I have found among all of you have given me a spiritual home in ways I could not have imagined. I am eternally grateful and humbled.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Whitman. I have been a member of this church for about 3 years. My husband and I retired here 3 years ago when we determined that Bozeman was the best town near our favorite backpacking and hiking. We've been members of a Unitarian church before, but just one other, so we're relatively new Unitarians. When I moved here, one of the things that I did almost immediately was get involved with the Sunday Services Committee, which in my prior church was called the Worship Committee. I've always wanted to do this, but in my other church, you had to be a committee chair to be allowed the privilege to be a lay leader. So I jumped in. I took a little while though to get my nerve up, but I've since done 7 lay leads, one on my own where I got to put it all together, and one outside, and one almost outside at the retreat. And I've really enjoyed it. Working with Christy and working with Rev Duffy and working with other people has been a real joy, and it really has helped me spiritually kind of, become a little more aware of others, and gives me joy to share that with others in the service. So that's my main activity, and it does take up enough of my time that the other things that I've done have been more project-like. So when it was time to lead a women's group every once in a while, I've done that a few times. When it was time to maybe lead a circle supper, we've done that. And we've put in auction events. We really believe in the auction events as not just a way to raise money, but a way to get to meet people. We've done glass recycling, which is currently suspended because the glass recycler is not open to the public, but we'll probably start that back up again. And then when there's projects around the church, like working on the shed or moving stuff around, we usually volunteer for that. And I say we, my husband is not on the Sunday Services Committee, and he obviously is not leading the women's group, but for the other things, he and I work on that together. He much prefers to find a project where there's someone in need, or some opportunity for him to help out. So, the What I've gotten out of doing this is I've been able to meet lots of people in the area. We were able to meet people who helped us network into doing a volunteer project at Yellowstone National Park. We found some people that we've gone to hike with. We found people that we go drink beer with. And because I've been working with the worship aspect of the church, I also feel like I'm just kind of grown as a person. So that's what I've been doing for the church, and that's what I get out of it. And you're welcome to come talk to me about being a lay leader.
I'm Jack Fisher. I'm a member of the Governance and Leadership Committee, and one of the things that the Governance and Leadership Committee does is to try to find people to serve on the UUFB board and in other leadership positions. So we've been doing this for quite some time now, and a year or two ago we thought it might be interesting to ask some of the people who said yes when we asked them if they would serve in a leadership position, why it is that they said yes. And we got responses back from folks, and it turned out, we think, to be rather insightful. So I'm going to read the responses of 4 people who told us why they said yes when we asked them if they would take on a leadership position. I'm going to read these. I have served as a leader in other organizations and in my work, so it is a role I feel comfortable with. Secondly, I believe in the power of community and volunteerism. I felt I needed to put time and energy into this area of my life that I've been neglecting. Alongside that, it's important for me to model this behavior to my child. And third, to be in a community means we can't expect everyone else to do the work. I wouldn't have put myself out there to join the board, but since I was asked, I felt it was my time to contribute. I thought maybe I won't have much to contribute, but I found that each person brings their unique worldview and experiences, so actually everyone can contribute. The second person had the following to say. First, I want to be more committed to the fellowship. It's an important part of my life now, and serving on the board seemed a good way to contribute. Second, I wanted to take my attention away from the current world situation, pay less attention to politics and the troubling environment outside our community, focus on what's around me and contribute where I can here. Third, I thought it would be a good personal challenge. I am an introvert by nature, and in the past I have underestimated myself in leadership roles. Therefore, to prove something to myself and to grow were both components of my agreement to serve on the board. The third person had the following to say. I was very impressed with Reverend Duffy and the lay leaders at Sunday services. They made sense and made me think. Sense of community is important to me. People were extremely welcoming to me when I first came to UU, and I could tell they supported each other, particularly by watching joys and sorrows at Sunday services. At a new member orientation, I learned about the theological roots of Unitarians and Universalists, and this made sense to me. I thought being on the board would be a good way to get to know more people in the fellowship. And finally, a fourth person said, the reason I said yes was that the board chair was specific with what the board wanted from me. The chair was looking for someone with an historical perspective of the fellowship's board activities regarding policy formation and so forth from past years. While I'm certainly not the only person who could have filled that position, I've not been very involved for several years, so I thought it was time for me to serve. So there we are, why 4 people said yes.
Hello, everyone. I am Pam Poon, contact person for the Governance and Leadership Committee. I started coming to the UUs in 2011 because after 9/11, I needed to be with people who have a broader perspective, and I still need that more than ever. Well, you just heard Jack talk about why several of our leaders said yes. I'm going to talk about why no is as sacred as yes. Leadership is about helping each other be the best fellowship we can be. The best fellowship as leaders who want to give back, who are fulfilled by service, and who have gifts that they want to share with each other. If leadership is burned out, overwhelmed, and depleted, that weakens our community and takes away from what we have to give to each other. I know which type of leadership I prefer. So if you're someone who is considering volunteering your time and talents, how do you know whether or not you should step up? You might want to consider taking an inventory of 3 things: your leadership capacity, life capacity, and your skills. And we know you have so many. Your leadership capacity. Does the role fit with your current interests? Does it mesh with your skill type, your personality type, and your leadership style? Your life capacity. What am I already committed to? Are there things I want to do for myself or my family that I'm currently not doing? Do I actually have time to do it? Your skills capacity. Do I like working closely with others, planning and generating ideas? Or does it suit me better to work on the computer at night when the kids are asleep? Do I prefer one-time events or longer and probably lighter commitments over time? And if you end up answering no, we are a community that will respect your answer because no is as sacred as yes. That doesn't mean we might not ask you if you will consider a later request for your help, but we will respect your no. Thank you.